Greetings, one and all. Today's show is coming to you from a place called the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. I'm going to do a quick look around. The actual memorials behind me, and as we turn around, some of the other elements you can see is in my rear. We can see the Jefferson Memorial, etc. So thanks for taking time out once again. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Today's talk focuses on two topics. First, when it comes to the semi-truck, Daimler/Nikola had started out suggesting that Tesla is a fraud and could not complete what they were describing. So that's the first part of our show. The second part today focuses on the fact that Tesla/Elon Musk is kind of in a war with the hedge funds. And so he stated that they have flamethrowers coming for those hedge fund managers who are betting against Tesla. And he's putting up $10 million of his own money to confirm that. So we're covering those two topics and more today, and look forward to reviewing all of this with you. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is the first time on our channel, please take time to like and subscribe. I want to also note that we have a Patreon link at the bottom, so it would be greatly appreciated if you take time out to like and subscribe. And any Patreon support really helps us improve equipment and facilitate the channel better. Also wanted to note that we put a couple of ads in typically, and by taking the time to watch 5 to 10 seconds of the ads, it really helps us to stay afloat, because if you just click away, we actually get no support from the advertising associated with YouTube. I elected to start early today because there's access to the mall in Washington, D.C. that you can get before the parking folks are in action and the buses arrive. Hence, I chose to initiate our talk early, or earlier than we usually do. Let's try to sneak the view in here of the World War II fountains behind me there. I'll walk out and give you more view of that after we're finished with our talk. So I like to blend in what's going on with each earnings announcement from Bob Lutz, as well as from the Daimler and Nikola section. So the first part of our discussion is the fact that Daimler is aggressively coming after Tesla in trucks and hasn't been too successful in accomplishing putting them away, because the battery technology that Daimler is working with is not that great. As we all know, Nikola just filed a lawsuit against Tesla for $2 billion. And during the earnings announcement, it was noted by Elon Musk that there's no, the wraparound glass and the mid-entry of the truck were not reasons why, people were buying Tesla trucks and not buying Nikola trucks. And so he thought that the nature of the lawsuit was ridiculous on that basis. He did say, though, and this is the first time Tesla has noted, that they have 2,000 reservations. And I think this is kind of interesting because, let's say those reservations are for $200,000 a piece founder editions. You can start to get your arms around, the fact that, they do have perhaps $1 billion worth of orders for the trucks. I do believe that pay full price right away influences people's attitude. And this also brings up an interesting point, which is, in the case of Tesla, they have a couple of prototypes they're working with, and Tesla's doing internal deliveries for those trucks. When it comes to Daimler, in their truck process, they produced 150, if you will, prototypes, and those prototypes have been shipped to a number of users as a way to allow companies to test out the product before they buy in large quantities down the road. I think that there is a problem, I believe, and that problem is that by Tesla not allowing users to have prototypes on hand to test out, you end up with this problem of can we rely on the truck? Can we buy 10,000 of them successfully? I wanted to also note to you guys that I do respond. I saw the hello from Australia, greetings, and wanted to note that we typically do our hellos at the end of the show to avoid it affecting the flow of the conversation. So thanks for your comment. And frankly, we're looking forward to any questions you might have. So continuing on our truck theme here, again, the folks at Daimler-Benz have said that Tesla really can't compete. And then Nikola pointed out that the trucks are really a fraud. And so we've had a chance to see the trucks moving around the country, moving to potential customers. And so it's very clear that the fraud assessment may be off. Now, the one kind of fraud element that one could argue that's lurking there is the fact that Nikola was saying that, the range of the trucks when you're not on a flat surface may be different. And so there's confirmation of that based on the number of miles that were achieved by the trucks between fuel ups while we were in heavy mountain territory. So I wanted to, so in essence, where we're at is that the truck has gotten a couple of thousand orders. The number that Tesla has talked about suggests that there may be other orders that weren't listed publicly, and this is the first time Elon has put a number on how many orders have come in on the trucks. But I think those orders will go a lot higher as we actually have production coming from the factory, and the early folks can get copies of that vehicle in. The other big thing that came up this week was the fact that Tesla is looking at 600 miles rather than 500 in terms of range. And I think this is interesting because if you have one driver, in theory, they're only allowed to go 11 hours per day. So that 500 miles is about right. One advantage of the 600 miles they've achieved is that a lot of trucks related to grocery stores are running reefers or refrigerated units. So now with 600-700 miles of range, you can use some of that battery life to actually provide refrigeration to whatever might be in the truck. My understanding is that many of the grocery stores will actually partition the truck so that one truck can carry the needs of the entire store. And the reefer section usually requires a diesel-powered small motor to make sure the refrigeration unit keeps everything cold. So with the extra range, we can now imagine, you can now imagine that there won't be a need to have a small diesel engine rolling, then that makes a lot of noise as you go into these cities. So bottom line is that the assessment that Tesla can't compete is inaccurate. Now that we've seen the truck pulling into current Tesla service centers, the major argument that Daimler has made regarding non-competitive Tesla was that basically Tesla couldn't compete because they don't have service facilities globally that the manufacturers or the customers might require. And so I think that this really highlights the point that there's no competitive issue that Tesla has in competing with Daimler globally. In fact, I think there may be the opposite issue. And the reason I say that is that if both trucks and cars in Tesla's case are using the same service facilities and parts in terms of the Model 3 parts, it's entirely possible that Tesla has a competitive advantage when it comes to this element, because Daimler has to run two facilities to service cars or trucks, and Tesla can actually get both done in one space and share parts and of all types, including screens. So I think this is an interesting element. The next thing I wanted to cover today is the whole discussion of what's going on with Elon Musk and his battle against the hedge funds. As we all know, he bought $10 million worth of stock, and he spent, or 30,000 shares of Tesla with those $10 million. When I heard this, I was like, well, when the guy's worth $22 billion, and he spends $10 million to buy stock, yeah, he's showing he's made a commitment, but I'm not sure that that's that big a deal to do 33,000 shares when you own 25% of the company already. But right after that was announced, it came out that there are a number of suppliers globally that are now seeing 10 and 15,000 unit orders to be delivered to the factory in production of Model 3. So I think that it's time to kind of get excited for those of you who are waiting on your vehicles, because right now we have a situation going where we're seeing signs that we're ramping to 5, if not 10,000 units of production going forward. And if this is the case, I do think it's going to start affecting greatly where the stock price is going. My hope, or what I'm seeing from this, is the possibility that we see the range of 8 to 10,000 units produced on a weekly basis heading into the September-October timeframe, and that's when the stock price is really going to scream. One other note that's kind of going on here is that it was just announced that Tesla has put up the Fremont factory as collateral against, I want to say, a line of credit. And so this may answer the question of the fact that Tesla needs cash but may not go back to the public markets, because if you can get a line of credit or put a quick mortgage on let's say a $5 billion facility, that provides a lot of capital that you can use to get moving. So bottom line is that if you guys like the stock and like what Tesla is doing in general, I think we're in the zone right now where we're actually going to see some dramatic production start coming out on the Model 3. I'm also intrigued because there's a lot of arguments that are out there that Tesla doesn't know how to produce a car profitably. And I still think the nightmare is if you have the Gigafactory and you have the Model 3 plant built, and the throughput of those are not in that 5,000 and above zone, it creates a problem where you have a huge and expensive facility that doesn't have enough production capacity to justify the amount of money it's costing on a monthly basis to pay for the cost of those buildings. So I'm really looking forward to the 5,000 unit production and how that affects the conversation of what's happening with Tesla. The final thing that I wanted to sort of dabble in today is we're seeing another accident, and it looks like it's related to a crash that occurred with Autopilot 2 and the Model S. For those of you who have Autopilot 2 and the newer Model S or X and even the Model 3, wanted to encourage you to make sure you stay vigilant in noting where and when you're supposed to be using the Autopilot, because obviously there have been some issues going on, and we'd like you to stay healthy and enjoy your vehicle. I just saw a question that had popped up from our friends in Australia, and I wanted to thank you for viewing at this time and actually posing a question. The cost of getting into Tesla with a truck is, the average cost of a diesel semi for the front of the truck is $130,000, and Tesla's asking for $200K. So because most of these companies have already produced the rear portion of their trucks and they're using that, I really don't see them ordering the back of the truck from Tesla as well, because they've already got the sunk costs and they're trying to get the most out of the tractor trailers they already own. So I think it's possible they buy the rear portion of the truck from Tesla as well, but I think it's more likely they continue to use the trucks that they've already, or the trailers that they've already purchased. The one exception to this is if there are certain folks that are willing to try to get the Tesla to go 900 to 1,000 miles, they may choose to modify the rear of the truck to include battery packs there that would cut down on the amount of freight it could carry but increase the range. So I think that's a distinct possibility in terms of how this all plays out. Um, as we're closing out, I would definitely love to hear any questions you guys might have, and happy to respond. Um, the, uh, the, the zone we're in right now is, I really think Tesla's in a challenging zone where they need to deliver, otherwise there could be huge consequences. I really am excited because we're into the zone now where once Tesla works out the bugs, we have no problem in terms of them delivering very large numbers successfully. And that's kind of exciting, and we can get on to new products like trucks and the Roadster as we stabilize production at this level. The final note I wanted to make here is that we're back on Sunday for our next show. We're actually going to do a Saturday afternoon show for our Patreon subscribers. So if you're, we could start with $1 at least, or whatever, but we'd greatly appreciate some support on Patreon if you would. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Please take time to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything. This is our latest installment of Nikola calls Tesla a fraud, but unfortunately it's Nikola that used the name as a way to affiliate with Tesla, and now they're suing, and Nikola still doesn't have a working prototype. So I think the fraud question mark really needs to be shined on Nikola, given they don't have a working prototype, but they're claiming large numbers of orders. I did see that one of my Patreon, or one of my subscribers or viewers, made a comment that he's ordering 10,000 Nikola trucks because you can order 10,000 and cancel at any time with no consequences. So it really shows that they're desperately in need of orders and are willing to do no down payment in that process. So the sun has come up a little bit. I'm gonna close out by saying tschüss, macht's gut, au revoir, lehitraot, choda hafez, and then we're gonna walk around just a little bit so you can get a view on our way out of the World War II Memorial, as well as the sort of the surroundings here. I don't know if we, as you can see, there's a real neat water fountain here that's going on. Washington Monument.